I mean, wicked can just be more than just a descriptor word. Like it can be an
An
actual
adjective.
noun.
Barding. Ah.
These
I don't know
things.
any of these things besides
How
Bree's
do you
hockey
how do you
journey.
We got our first hater the other day.
shout out to my dad?
That made me mad. Now I'm triggered.
Oh, and god damn it. What a pro wants. What a pro wants. Was this your prediction in here, or the lore? Penguins fire Mike Sullivan and the
Yeah,
Bruins
you
hire
like
him?
that? That's my new bold prediction. I guess I have to put it actually on the podcast for it to be lore.
Yeah, we actually have to speak it into existence, like we're doing right now with.
Right now, another cold open.
Oh, wait, I forgot to double. I think it's episode 71. I'm pretty sure. Episode 71, Bread Loves Hockey
Lock it
Podcast.
in.
We're locking it in. And so I guess let's break that down since we already teased it.
I'm just double checking to make sure that's actually 71.
I
while
think
we're
it
here,
is.
but I think so too.
Because I think the Thanksgiving episode was 70. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We did release it a little earlier than our normal Sunday upload, but figured because we had kind of a short time in between, it would make more sense to do that. And you can listen to it on the way over to Grandma's house.
Mm-hmm. So clearly the Bruins will be looking for a new head coach at the end of this year, probably, unless the current situation goes very, very well. But my bold prediction is that Mike Sullivan will return to coaching the Bruins. Did you know he used to coach for the Bruins, Brendan?
I didn't know that. No, actually, I didn't.
Yeah, back in like 02 or something. 02, 03-ish. He's also McAvoy's father-in-law. Did you know that?
Oof, bombshell. I did not know. I did not know that either.
Yeah, McAvoy's married to his daughter. So all these connections, you know.
That's great. Wow. Yeah. I can see some of the thought process there.
Yeah, you know, the Penguins aren't doing well. Mike Sullivan's been there forever. They're gonna finally fire him, and we'll be like, hey, he's a good coach. He like wasn't great for the Bruins 2 decades ago, but he's learned so much in the league, you know.
Yep, and I'm sure. Well, sometimes those shakeups don't always work if you've been somewhere for a really long time, but other times it's like, yeah, it's a slam dunk. Like, so I could see it. You think this is an off-season kind of thing? Like they don't fire him until after like the Penguins officially miss the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as the Bruins side, like Joe Sacco, I think he's probably just gonna be coaching the rest of this year, and then the Bruins will look at a different coach. But I don't know with Sullivan. Like, maybe I don't know where the Penguins are in the standings. I feel like they could still like kid themselves about making the playoffs. They're still like close enough, you know.
They're on a 4-game win streak right now, actually, which I'm not sure
Yeah.
how many people really know that because
I sure didn't.
they've been terrible.
So they're
As
like
of very recently, though.
they're 1 point out of the wild card, but they've played 2 more games than Philly. So like by points percentage, they're still under 500. But they're still in the spot where it's like, oh, we can make the playoffs.
Like,
So
I don't know.
while we're just predicting things here, we'll just keep going and say that they'll just be like close to the wild card spot for most of the year, and then end of the year they won't make it, and then they fire Sullivan. Then off season comes, and we're like, hey, we'll take this guy back.
I mean, I can see that for sure. I was definitely not expecting them to make the playoffs this season. They had not made like a great start. And I guess they're kind of rallying right now because Crosby's like, please guys, we have to do something here. But it has not been good. Yeah, they've also played 27 games, which is a lot more than most other teams. I think like the Devils have played 28. The Sharks have played 28, and maybe a couple other teams. But yeah, they're definitely not looking. Oh, Bruins have played 28 games as well.
Yeah.
So that's helping them.
They're in the Atlantic.
That's
Don't look at
helping them a
points
little
percentage.
bit. Yeah, like 554. That's putting you second wild card spot kind of deal. And
Well, but then Tampa moves up.
Tampa moves
so,
up. Yeah.
Yeah. We're technically out, but
Yeah.
We don't care
technically.
about that. We'll be fine. We're doing okay.
You know who's not doing okay though are the Blackhawks, and they, speaking of coaches, they just fired Luke Richardson a couple hours ago. So Anders Sorensen, coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs, which is their AHL affiliate, named the interim head coach. So um, I'm not surprised by this move. Like, he hasn't been there for too long, but the team was expected to be better this year with adding some like decent, veteran pieces like Martinez and Brossois, although he's been injured, and Bertuzzi as well. Like a couple other pieces where it's like maybe these guys can work, and it just like hasn't been gelling at all. Like they're the last place team right now. They've looked
Whole
terrible.
roster are just depth guys.
It's
And Bedard.
really, yeah, it's not good. Bedard has had like no confidence this year because they're like playing a weird defensive scheme, and Luke Richardson kind of just keeps shaking up the lineups and or the pairings and the lines, and it's like nothing is really happening, and we're kind of just like not that great. They have beat a couple good teams, like they beat Florida pretty recently, but few and far between.
And then yeah, Kyle Davidson, their GM, had said that they had begun to take steps forward in our rebuilding process. We felt that the results did not match our expectations for a higher level of execution this season, and ultimately came to the decision that a change was necessary. 'Cause, like, it's only weird to fire a coach like in a rebuild. Like you choose to rebuild, you suck, and you're like, all right, this is our coach until we start getting better, and then we'll like get a real coach. But they're like, we're rebuilding, it's taking too long. Let's get a different coach to like rebuild better.
Yeah, I mean, like we've seen that with a couple of other teams. I feel like the Rangers are kind of a similar situation where they had like a quicker rebuild, and maybe that's kind of the model
And
that.
they're like, I want to go here, so that helped.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that definitely was a bonus for them.
Like rebuild over.
Yeah, you got me there, but maybe they just kind of expected a little bit more, and I don't know if they had like really big aspirations of like almost pushing for it. Like I can't imagine they went into the season like we need to make the playoffs, but
No,
maybe
but
they
they
were
wanted
just
to
pushing a
probably
little
be
bit
like,
harder.
playing meaningful hockey still, but they're already like not.
Yeah, yeah, and
Like
it sounds like
February.
and I don't know how much of like the locker room stuff is true or not, but you kind of hear like rumblings about just the style of play and like the way that Richardson is leading the team. It's like just not gelling, and so those are also situations where it's like, okay, maybe if the coach is like doing all right, but the team is just not doing well, then maybe we stick keep him around for a little bit longer. But it seems like it's just a terrible situation. And a lot of Blackhawks fans have just like not been watching the team when normally they would because of how bad they've been this year. So hopefully this is like some sort of a boost. I have no information on Sorensen. This is just one of
I
those
do.
where
He's
we'll
the
see.
first Swedish-born head coach in the NHL.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's a neat little tidbit.
Huh. Well, way to go, Anders.
That's the information I have.
Well, thank you, Dean.
You're welcome.
We already provided the only info I knew was him being the head coach, the former head coach of the Ice Hogs, and we'll see like how familiar he's already been with like some of these guys because imagining some of these bottom six, bottom pair D men like he's worked with in the past because I'm sure some of these guys have bounced back and forth. But yeah, I'm not expecting them to like super turn it around and oh look at them, it's the Blackhawks. I can't believe they're doing it. Like I can believe that they will not do it, but they might be a little bit better than they have been.
Yeah, I was gonna look. When is their next game? They're not playing. Are they playing tonight?
I
Uh,
don't know if they're playing tonight.
they're playing. Well, they don't play till Saturday
Oh,
against the Jets. That'll be a nice, easy turnaround game for them with the new coach.
Well, I mean, the Jets have been not doing well actually.
Not
They've
winning every game like they used to.
Well, they're 3-7 in their last 10. I think they were on like a 3 or 4 game losing streak. They're losing to the Sabres right now, 2-1. Like I don't know what's going on with them. It's really weird.
Hellebuck's playing not as a 950 goalie and hiding all of their problems anymore.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like the way that they were so dominant. Like I just didn't expect them to like suddenly like all the band-aids pop off and this team
Yeah,
really isn't like superstars. I mean, I guess none of us expected them to be this kind of juggernaut going into the season, but with the way that
they've
they
already
played,
they've banked so many points, so it's like, yeah, they can lose a few now.
yeah, like this could be a situation similar to what Vegas did last year, where they were really hot. They had that like long point streak. It's like a 12 game point streak, I want to say, and then they kind of just coasted into the wild card 2 spot. I don't know if that's exactly gonna happen with them, but the Central is like really tight. Obviously, Minnesota still first in the league is gonna be tough. Dallas is always formidable. The Avs are like fighting through it right now. They're doing okay. So, they got to kind of pick things up here if they want to get back to that number 1 spot in the Central.
Yeah, I mean the Jets are fourth in the league still, so they're fine. I was surprised to see the Bruins 11th. I guess they're kind of crawling out. I feel like everyone's having a bad start to the year, which is like everyone obviously can't, but it just feels like a lot of teams, at least in the East, are like 500 teams.
There haven't been
The
a ton
Bruins could be
of
way
standout
worse if
ones.
everyone else wasn't also sucking. The Panthers are only a 615 win percentage.
They had
Rangers are
a little slip.
563. Tampa's 565. Like,
Yeah, and then all the usual bottom 4. Like, it's frustrating knowing that if this keeps up, we're just gonna see the same exact 4 teams in the Atlantic again this year in the playoffs. Like, God, that's frustrating. It's just like, as a fan, you're like, can we please get some different matchups?
unless you're a fan of one of those four teams.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't. I mean, I guess like it's fun to see the Bruins, but they're not my team, and it's like I would kind of prefer if they're not that great a team to just see a Buffalo, see an Ottawa, like make a fun push, and even if they
Yeah,
don't do
Columbus.
anything, yeah, Columbus, I'm fine with that too. I think pretty much everybody in the league would
Yeah.
be happy with that, although they're not looking poised to really do that. They have a couple games in hand on some other folks they got to catch, but
Doing better than Pittsburgh.
uh yeah, by points percentage, they are doing better than Pittsburgh. And the Islanders are just so bad. Sorry, Zane.
Yep.
But again, we've been keeping up with the standings and the playoff positioning and stuff, but, still a lot of hockey to play. We've got the Winter Classic coming up in like 3 weeks on the 31st, so that should be fun. We'll see how Anders performs as the head coach there for the Blackhawks, and then we'll go from there. Next milestone would be Four Nations Faceoff, which we just got some big news on yesterday, about the final rosters have been revealed for all 4 teams, and it's been kind of fun speculating and breaking down, even though we didn't do any speculation formally on the team, makeups. I think kind of
All the other
internally.
podcasters did, so you got to listen to them,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. Not that you guys would listen to any other podcast about
No.
hockey. I mean, that's crazy. It's not like Dean does that, or me. I've done that before. Anyways, how about we go through these a little bit? I mean, I don't know if we have to go through the whole thing, but we can kind of highlight some surprises.
Yeah, we can start with Team USA. I mean, I feel like the whole talk with this team was that, hey, we actually have good goalies, and Canada doesn't, so maybe we'll win this year. And I don't know if you have any predictions, but my bet's on Team USA this year. I know people are like, well, Team Canada might have more depth and all that, but like when you go head to head, it's like, well, the forwards and defense are like pretty comparable, but the goalies are way in favor of Team USA.
Yeah, I think like maybe the center depth for USA is like not as good, but then it's like, well, they've got Matthews and Eichel. Um, they've got Hughes as well, so it's like even though we've got McDavid and Crosby and McKinnon, who are like it's like they kind of are like that next tier, unfortunately, but it's not like a huge disparity, and I think the American team's just like a little bit younger. I mean, obviously McDavid's about the same age as these guys, but Crosby and McKinnon, well, more Crosby, I guess. But I do think the American team is solid, and I would not be surprised if they ended up winning. I mean, I can see like a case for all four teams, even though some people have been kind of ripping on Finland a little bit. I don't think they're like terrible, and I think these should all be pretty competitive games.
Yeah, one of the arguments I heard about, or I guess towards Team USA's roster, is that the defense are kind of like offensive minded and they didn't really get any like defensive defensemen. Not that there's a ton in the league these days, but um, like part of the team building strategy could be to have like I mean everyone's gonna be an all-star on these teams, right? So it's like maybe you get someone like a penalty kill specialist or someone who can win face-offs, like that sort of thing for a forward or a defender. But like I mean Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, those were like the initial three defensemen, and like well McAvoy's kind of more defensive, but Hughes and Fox are kind of
Definitely
offensive.
offense, yeah,
Yeah. Then you
yeah.
have Werenski, who's pretty offensive. And then Brock Faber, who's still young, but on the best team in the league right now, the Wild, and then Slave and then Hannafin. So
Yeah, I mean, Slavin's definitely defensive minded, and Hannafin, well, I don't know. It's tough because I feel like Hannafin tries to get involved with the offense a lot, but you know, he has good defensive instincts too. I think Braden McNabb for the oh no not for Americans for Canada it would be another good defensive defenseman. Um, maybe for well, even for like other options for defense, like maybe Pionk. I'm just looking at a couple like options that didn't end up making it. Mikey Anderson is definitely more of a defensive defenseman. Um, but then yeah, they've got like John Carlson is like completely offense pretty much at this point. Lane Hudson, young, but he would be good too. So I am definitely interested to see how these kind of shape out, even though we've got a little bit of time here. Did you have any, at least like for the American team, we'll kind of break out the other ones, but did you have any kind of surprises? Like, I think like
I think
both of the Rangers were kind of a surprise, and
well, yeah, I was gonna say
Trocheck and Kreider.
the big snub. I think a lot of people were saying Tage Thompson they thought would be on the roster.
Yeah, like I think that's fair. I could definitely see him instead of either Kreider or Trocheck. Like neither of them have had a great year. I think maybe it's just because Kreider's like a little more experienced than Thompson. And it's been a while for him since he's probably played and best on best. So like with that aspect of it, you kind of want a little bit more grit there. But I mean, Tage is like 6'5". Like I think he would be great. There were a couple other uh, slights that I was a little surprised by. Um, Cole Caulfield has been having a really good year, and he was kind
Mm.
of expected to be in there. I mean, maybe just because he's young, but he's not like that young anymore. He's like what 23 or 22. I guess still a little young, but um, I would think he would be a good fit. And yeah, Clayton Keller as well, another like young option that would be good. I don't know exactly who you kick out, um, or Tuck as well for if we're talking about the Sabres. But he doesn't have like as much like high ceiling as some of those other guys, but he is still pretty solid.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll put the rosters up on the screen. I don't know. I have a decent amount of Vegas players that are being represented by 3 of the 4 nations. So I'm excited about that. Bruins have a couple. They have what?
Yeah, Marchand and McAvoy
2?
and
Is that it?
Swayman.
Oh yeah, Swayman as well. Yeah, Vegas has, for the Americans, they have Eichel and Hannafin. For Canada, they have Mark Stone, who's still out right now. I thought he was going to be coming back soon, but not quite yet. And then Petrangelo and Theodore and Aiden Hill. And then Carlson is playing for Sweden. So that's exciting. Nobody on Finland for me to be rooting for Vegas, but that's okay. Pretty good position. I think Florida's the only team with more players represented. I think the Lightning have a decent amount too. And then the Caps and the Kraken have no players, which is kind of a bummer for them, but whatever.
So for Team USA, the other snub that I saw was Jason Robertson.
Yeah, I was also a little surprised. I mean, he hasn't had like his greatest offensive performance like to start a season this year. Like he's had some other really strong years, but just like with how much like ceiling he has and we've seen for like the last 2 seasons, I would think that he could fit in somewhere. I don't know, maybe like you replace him with maybe or Gensel or yeah, again, one of these Kreiders or even Nelson maybe, but because he's like, taking it a little bit of a step back, but he's still pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the debate, like when you're picking these players, are you picking them based on how they perform on like the big stage, how their career has played out, how they're playing this year, like at this moment? Like, there's a lot to consider, obviously.
There is a lot, and I do wonder if there were any players that did not want to play. I don't think there would be many, but there's like the slight risk that if you're playing at this time that you get, injured during the tournament, something maybe somebody would consider. I didn't hear anything about that, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
know there's a thing for like the All-Star game, but I feel like players want to play for their countries.
yeah, I do think it's
I
different
feel like
in
that
that
would be
way.
different.
So probably not, but you never know. But yeah,
Anything else for
American looks good.
USA?
No, I think we can shift gears here. We'll do
Okay.
cover Canada.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of really solid options there, of course. Um, let's see. There were a couple surprise. I think Pareko was a big name that people were a little bit surprised by.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like okay defensively. He's not like a stud or anything, and I don't really expect a whole lot of him offensively, other than like every once in a while he'll take a major slap shot that gets like 95 miles an hour going. But other than that, like he's kind of not the most top end, like the upper echelon, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a forgettable player. I mean, part of that is because he plays on the Blues. Um, but
True,
I guess
that
this
does
goes
hurt
back
him.
to what I was saying, where Team USA seem to have like all the offensive defensemen. This is just like a penalty killer, like defensive defenseman. You want to know, like I guess you want to balance that with the offensive guys, and if they have Binnington in net, like they, have chemistry there, so that could be a thing too. And he's right-handed, so always need some right-handed defensemen. You tried to do that when we were doing our teams of all different nations, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like you're like, oh well, you can't just
a
have all
little bit.
lefties. I'm like, I'm gonna have all lefties. So
Yeah, I'm sure the GMs for these teams consider that. wasn't really. I mean, I didn't make my own roster, but I wasn't really thinking about that a whole lot. So that could play a role. Um, for kind of some snubs, I guess, for the defensive side for Canada, I think Dougie Hamilton was a big one that people were a little surprised by because he's
I
had a
was gonna
pretty
say Evan
solid year.
Bouchard.
Or Bouchard, yeah, he. I mean, definitely you're getting mostly
Not
offense from
playing
him.
great this year, but like again, he played so well in the playoffs last year. It's like I don't know, playing great on a big stage, having a slow start. Like maybe you just take the gamble.
Yeah, and you could. I
Um,
mean, you could certainly pair him with like a defensive-minded D man. Like, yeah, you pair him with maybe Josh Morrissey, maybe well, actually, maybe Petrangelo or well, actually, Petrangelo and Theodore are both kind of offensive, but you kind of get somebody in there that like is a little more stationary, more
yeah.
more defensively sound, and I think that could work out.
You also hear the talks about maybe having Doughty on there, even though he's hurt.
No,
Well, because obviously, I mean, it seems like people just love Drew Doughty. There's always the talks about, oh, maybe you'll get a Norris. Like the Lifetime Achievement Awards kind of goes into the tournament selections too. But the other thing you could do is if he's still hurt, then you have like that kind of LTIR piece where like because you can sub if someone's hurt, you can sub them like the day of like up to the day of the tournament.
hmm, yeah, that I mean, I don't. There's like a couple guys that are hurt right now. I mean, I expect Stone to come back pretty soon. Miller, JT Miller is currently still out with you know, a personal reason there. I think he's supposed to come back soon though. He could
Yeah.
be coming back.
Well, I heard actually I saw an article. I think it was also he could be back as soon as tomorrow.
See, that's good.
He's returned to the ice and is preparing to return to the team from his self-imposed personal leave.
Great, that's good. Um, so yeah, no worries there. But I think yeah, most of these guys are healthy right now. We'll see if they start making some replacements if like one of these guys has like a long term injury. Hopefully none of that happens. But then we might see some of these other alternate options come in. Um,
And then there were also talks about well, Logan Thompson, Logan Thompson, and then even like Tom Wilson, like really no caps at all. Just how
yeah,
good they're
I
playing.
was surprised by no Logan Thompson. That was a shock for me. I think because I feel like he's been good. Record here 10-1-2 and a 9-12 save percentage. Is that what that is? 9-13. So like that's pretty damn good. Uh, a little surprised. Like I mean I guess Montembeau's been having a pretty good year, but I would have thought that he would have been one of the guys. Although allegedly, because I think Bruce Cassidy is the coach for Team Canada, and it sounds like part of the reason he left Vegas was because he had some issues with Cassidy. This kind of just like hearsay that I've heard, but um, that might be part of it. I don't know.
And then there was also some chatter about like Connor Bedard, even Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah, I think they'll get in on the next one. I think they're
Yeah.
a little too young.
Well, there was
Maybe
back
Bedard.
in 2006 in the Olympics, Team Canada went with a more veteran roster and left off someone named Sidney Crosby, and they didn't medal at all that year.
Oh, it might be biting them. Who was the GM for the Canadian team? Do you remember? Uh,
Um, is Don Sweeney the GM?
I can't remember. I know Jim Nill is the GM for one of the teams, but I don't
Oh,
remember.
Don Sweeney is as well. He's probably Canadian.
So I think Jim Nill's probably the American one then. I don't remember who the other two GMs are, or coaches for that matter. I'll have to find that. But yeah, That could be a factor. I guess, did we actually say who the goalies for the American team are? They're Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman. So, yeah. Really, really good there versus Bennington, Hill, and Montembeau. I would expect Hill would probably be the starter, but, like, none of them have been, like, really good. Like, I don't know. I just feel like
I mean, they don't need to pick one yet. They could wait and see who's hot at the time.
also true. We are speculating, like, 3 months. I mean, a little bit more than 2 months out. So,
Yeah, and I guess I feel like Team Canada had more snubs. They're just more like potential Canadian players. Like Stamkos is an interesting one. I mean, obviously you got the experience. Like he's a veteran. He's not playing great anymore, but like I don't know.
Tavares, I heard
Definitely
too, was a similar one.
Zach Hyman. Yeah, I mean, played incredibly well last year. Hasn't been playing well this year, but 54 goals last year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's tough to pass up. I think
90 goals in the last 2 seasons.
I could definitely see some of these guys who didn't get picked, like, just immediately kind of use that a little bit as some motivation, and then it's like, oh, you should have picked me because I'm playing really well for my
Yeah,
team now.
you
Um,
can't change your mind unless someone gets hurt.
I think Ricard Raquel was saying that because he didn't get selected for Team Sweden. Like, not exactly to that effect, but just like I respect their decision, but I really thought that, with the way I've been playing this year, that I would have been able to be selected for the team. So yeah, I could see players kind of using that, fueling them. I don't think
Yeah,
we really have any snubs on my team though. We've got plenty of good picks.
yeah. I was like, well, I mean, Pasternak's Czech, obviously. So I'm trying, like, I'm thinking like as like the best
Eligible
Bruins.
players, yeah.
Yeah, like the best Bruins players. I'm like beyond McAvoy, Marchand, and Swayman. It's like that's basically it. Like
Yeah.
the rest of the guys are kind of like like they're good players, but they're not all-star tournament like top of your country players.
No.
Shall we move on to Finland?
Yeah. Let's
I think
do it.
Finland and Sweden have less like snubs and surprises.
Yeah, I mean, some of these teams, like, it's just there are less options. Um,
Yeah.
I think one for Finland that was a little bit surprising was Kokaniemi was not there. I mean, he's like not like a superstar by any means, but I could have seen him slotting in over like some of these other guys. Maybe Armia, maybe Kako. Like, Armia
Yeah,
has
and
been
Armia was
okay.
also like one of those where it's like people were debating if he would be on the team or not, and he's one of those guys that's kind of like a good two-way forward, can help on the PK. So
Yeah, all depends on how, like, wanted to construct the team, I think.
yeah, the other player you could argue could be a snub was Jonas Korpisalo with how he's been playing this year.
Well, yeah, maybe. I'm not quite there yet, but I guess I
Aros
could
is the
see.
only Finnish goalie who's played more games this year.
Oh, like, he's played the most games out of the Finnish goalies.
Saros has Korpisalo's second. He's
Oh,
6-2-1,
Saros.
909 save percentage.
Yeah, I mean, and then
Well,
you
yeah,
get.
I thought it was a long shot, but it's like, yeah, like he's been playing good enough where it's like you gotta kind of consider him. But they went with Kevin Lankinen, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and then obviously UC Saros.
Which, yeah, Lankinen has been pretty good, at least on the road. He's got that whole 10-0 start to the season on the road, which is an NHL record, so that's pretty cool. But I don't think he'd be the starter over Saros or Luukkonen for that matter.
Yeah,
Um,
and then the other big surprise for Finland was Jani Hakanpää.
yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, like, he's played 2 games. He, like, just got back, and I think he got hurt again. Not sure,
Well, 'cause he had a
but
knee surgery last year.
yeah. So he wasn't sure.
Yeah,
We weren't
then
sure if he was gonna come back.
he was out with a lower body injury, but um, I guess people are assuming that if he can't play, that Henry Jokiharju is the next option at defense.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. That's a good slot in. Uh, I was thinking maybe Jim Neal is actually the Finland GM because there are there's two Stars defensemen um, that are
Hmm.
on that team with
Oh,
Heiskanen and Lindell.
I also forgot to mention that Elias Lindholm's on Team Sweden. So
Okay, I was like kind of wondering about Lindholm, but I was like, I don't know. He hasn't been like great
he
this
hasn't been
year.
playing well. That was also a question mark. But I mean, we can head to Sweden. That's where we're going next anyway.
Yeah, let's head over there.
We teammates with William Karlsson. Yeah, we got the same deal. No Finnish players. We got our team's players on the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, that's too bad for Finland. We won't be getting our support.
Oh well.
Yeah, they'll get over it, especially if they win. I feel like a lot of people underestimate them. So they've got some decent guys, but Sweden, we've got Forsberg, Nylander, Zibanejad. I think a lot of at least Rangers fans are like, really, because just the way he started. But I mean, there's still
Maybe you're
again,
just betting on him turning things around.
yeah, like there's a lot of time left. I wouldn't be too surprised if he finally figured out what the heck's going on. Um, Leo Carlson, I think a couple people were surprised by just with his age. Like he's probably the youngest guy in the tournament, I would expect. Um, but he's been like pretty good. I don't know like a ton about his underlying numbers going into right now. Um, any other major surprises for Sweden? Not really.
Um,
Arvidsson also was a big one that people were talking about because he has not been good, and I think he is actually hurt right now. I think he's been out for a
yeah,
little bit.
he's yep.
So that one's a little surprising. I think there were other
Gustav
options at
Nyquist is
forward.
35 years old now, so another one where it's like,
Yeah, like you could like if you're gonna have Carlson, you could also throw Eklund in there for San Jose because he's had a pretty good start.
yeah,
Um, I would I would kind of think
23
that would be
points in
better
27 games.
on the Sharks. Like
Wow.
that's that's impressive. And Celebrini's start has also been good
But
too.
yeah, I mean, who knows what they see with the young guys? But it's like if you're that young, maybe you're not worth the risk, like defensively, even if you can get all those points.
True, and it's not like uh, Eklund has been playing against every superstar that's Canadian or every superstar that's American every night. Like he's been getting those points against other maybe not so great teams. So it's like not the same situation.
Yeah, and then speaking of the Sharks, Fabian Zetterlund has also had a good start. He's a little older at 25. Didn't get put on the team, but um, analytics shows one of the most effective Sharks forwards offensively.
Well, sorry to hear that for Fabian.
Yeah.
But
Um,
they did get at least one player from the Sharks.
I guess, and then the other player for Sweden that didn't make it was Hampus Lindholm, the other Bruin Lindholm. He hasn't had a great year either. He's
No, neither of them
battled
have
some
been good.
injuries too, but like he was playing. I mean, he played great last year, so I was a little surprised by that. But again, maybe that's just the Boston bias.
The Boston bias.
Yeah. Like I don't know who else you pick out for him. Like Rasmus Anderson, like he's been playing well, I think. Matthias
Hmm.
Ekholm, Forsling. Like yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Maybe
Rasmus Dahlin
Brodeen.
if you
I don't
want
know.
more experience, or Brodin because he's young too. But I don't know. Yeah, it's tough.
Embarrassment of riches, I guess, for Sweden defensively. Yeah. So and then for goalie, they've got Philip Gustafsson, Jacob Markstrom, and Linus Ullmark. So those are all like pretty solid options. I don't think there's like a standout one there, at least right now.
Mark's been known to have his moments, so who knows?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that
Mark
one's up for
Swayman
grabs.
final.
Hey, that could be fun. I think there's a lot of I think all of the potential final matchups would be interesting. Like I don't think there's any teams that I'm like, boy, this doesn't seem like a team that I'd be very interested in watching. I guess we'll see as the tournament actually goes on. Um,
Mhm.
and it's from February 12th to February 20th. Uh, and the championship game is in Boston, which I was wondering. I thought it was going to be in Montreal, but I guess the first four games are in Montreal, and then the finals are in Boston. The final three
Oh, and then
games.
did you also hear the now I forget because he took it off the dock. What was the goalie's name? That everyone was
What goalie?
the goalie that his dad's Canadian and his mom's from
Oh,
Sweden
Joey
and
Decord,
Joey Decord, yeah, Mr. Coco Cup.
the Coco Cup
Um,
champion. Yeah,
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 where
he
they're
did not
like,
make
oh,
it.
maybe he'll play for Team Canada, because he's eligible or he could be eligible, but he's like, I don't have a passport, and he's like, I'm good.
Yeah,
This whole thing, it started like a week ago because like, wait, he could be eligible for Canada or Sweden. Like Canada could use him
I thought,
over
and
like
doesn't
Montembeau.
doesn't he have an American passport too? Like, so couldn't he play for the American team?
Well, he could, but obviously they wouldn't pick him because they have three other better goalies. But
Yeah,
like
no, I
Canada might
mean,
have taken him.
yeah, I'm sure Canada would have been looking because it'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
we don't have I mean, I'm ripping on Hill a little bit here, but like he hasn't been great. He's got like a 890 something save percentage right now, but I mean they're starting to bounce back a little bit. And did you have anything more on the impending Four Nations face-off? I think we'll have more to say about it as we get closer, but it's
I
still
think
fun to
that's it.
dissect. So we
And
will shift gears here. You want to talk a little bit about the Bruins Centennial game that they played on the first?
oh, sure, what a great game that was. First
Hey,
off, the
it was a good
I
game.
don't know if did you watch any of like the pre-game ceremony?
I wasn't able to.
Like it was like a whole hour, but it was like really well done. Very entertaining. They had the like up on the jumbotron, obviously televised as well. The kind of highlights through the years of the last century, and they kind of broke it into different eras, like the Big Bad Bruins, the Lunch Pail AC, um, and then I forget what they called the like up to the cup winning team and all that, but it was really cool. And then they had all the like the players from those eras come on the ice and things like that. But the only people from the like cup era, I guess we could call it, even though there's more than one cup era. The recent cup era was Marchand and Bergeron, like no Chara, which I mean I guess he's just doing his own thing now. No Tim Thomas, which isn't surprising, but like I thought they had more. Like you could probably get like Nathan Horton had something to do that night. Like I don't know, there's like so many players you could have gotten. McQuaid, like
Yeah, I did hear some people were surprised about Chara, or you just throw like one of the random guys that like happen to be on like Shane Knighty. He was like the
yeah.
third pair defenseman on the
Like
2011
the
team.
other part, or like argument I heard was like they've kind of been milking this for the last year, and they
That
had
is true.
the whole cup team. I forget they did something last year or
Yeah,
the
they
year
did a
before
trip
that with
last year.
everyone. Like the whole team was basically there. So it's like if I was Chara and got like I don't know how it works, a letter in the mail. It's like, hey, come to this. Like I'm good. I got an ultra marathon to run tomorrow or
Yeah,
whatever he's doing. A 20th language to learn.
he is very impressive in so many different ways. But
Yeah,
yeah, either way, it was still, I'm sure, very exciting. I did see the drone footage that they had,
that
the
was really
promo,
cool.
and like they had a bunch of former Bruins players kind of featured in little spots. Like they had you know uh, Ray Bork and a couple other guys. I think
Willie O'Ree.
yeah, Willie O'Ree as well. A lot of cool stuff that they did with
Yeah.
that little
Yeah, and
video.
I like the way the ceremony ended too, where they had like the legends passing the puck to just like local New England hockey kids on the ice, to like passing the torch forward for the like here's
The
the next
next 100
century.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
basically.
awesome.
And then also helped that we just destroyed the Habs.
That's a bonus.
Um,
Yeah.
and then you also wrote down that Swayman punched Suzuki, so just Swayman things, I guess.
He does seem to like to hit people a lot, especially for no
And
reason.
yeah, and
Like,
then you
uh,
can't see it from the angle. I'm sure he's just smiling at him.
oh, for sure. Because he's like, what are you going to do? You can't fight me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a goalie. Definitely using it to his advantage. Um, but no, it was fun watching that game. A six was it 6-3,
I
which
say 6-2. I don't know, a lot to a little.
something like that. I was secretly hoping that they would win 2-1 because that was the score from the original December 1st, 1924 game against the Maroons. It's like that would be kind of fun. So I mean, I guess they just tripled it. It's like, oh, see how much more scoring has gone up, although they had some
Yeah.
really high scoring games in like the 20s and 30s, like 10-9 finals and stuff. So a little bit different there, but still fun. What you think about the jerseys that they were wearing?
I liked them. I thought they looked really good.
We've talked about them
Um,
before when they initially like
yeah,
released,
it was
but
different to see them on the ice with like the whole uniform.
I thought they looked great.
Yeah, I don't love them enough. Like when I saw the Bruins Winter Classic like a couple years ago, I'm like, ah, that jersey is so good. Like I'm gonna get that one day, and then I got it. But this one I'm like, it's cool. Like I'm not at the level of like I need this jersey, but it's
Yeah,
it's good.
I like it quite a bit. I haven't
Need
gotten it
this
yet.
jersey?
I don't have it. It would be fun to get it, and maybe if it goes on sale, cause like that happened with the Centennial ones that they wore last year, but they also wore those all season versus just one event, like one game, so they
Mm.
probably didn't make as many of them. So I don't know. We'll see if I end up getting it. Um, it did not. It was one of the ones that did not go on sale for like Black Friday, Cyber Monday type of stuff. I'm like, that makes sense because it literally just came out.
Well, were they even? Because I also heard that they wouldn't even be on sale before the game. Like players or like fans were like, we can't even have the jersey for the game.
Some people had them. I think if they picked them up like in stores, but yeah, I think
Uh,
shipping was like yeah, I heard that was a problem, and that's been like a kind of a trend with some other games. A lot of the outdoor games I've heard there's been problems with that. That's
mm,
not happening with the Winter Classic though. I have seen a lot of people showing off their Connor Bedard jerseys. I have seen one person I think post about the Blues jersey that they got. Everybody else, it's all Connor Bedard.
that's funny.
Blackhawks jersey, which actually it looks really good. Like I do kind of want to get that one, but I kind of need to take a bit of a break, so I'm not going to prioritize it. I did get this jersey in the mail just today. I'm wearing my new New York Sirens jersey, so this is uh, their new look, and I'm glad I have an adult size now because the one that's in the
Mm.
background there is the youth extra large. That was like the only one that was available. I'm like, it doesn't fit great, so it's nice to have what they're actually wearing now, and I will maybe get it customized. I don't know. There's a couple Clarkson players that are on the New York team, so I could definitely see myself getting one of them on here.
I wonder where you'd even customize that. Because like the place I got my Bruins one is for NHL. Like
That's a
other
good
places that
question.
like just do any jerseys or
Yeah, I guess I don't know who I could send it to. I'm sure I could find out, but
yeah.
probably not high on my list for ones to get done immediately. But still
Hmm.
still happy to have it, and I got it on a pretty good deal from Dick's Sporting Goods. So check it out there if it's still available. I have no idea, um, but I am happy to have it, and we did get to see the first PWHL games. At least I watched some. They started on the 30th, and so I watched a couple of those games. The Sirens are actually first in the league right now. They are 1-0-0, so one regulation win, one overtime win, and they did not look good to start. against the Frost. The first period, it was like they were down 2-0. They had like 3 shots on goal for the whole period. They looked terrible, and they ended up bouncing back. And Sarah Fillier, who was their number 1 draft selection, first overall this past draft, has been looking great. She's got 2 goals already. I think she's got like 3 or 4 points. So that's awesome because they were not nearly this good last year. I mean, obviously they've only played 2 games, but still fun for me.
Yeah, as for Boston, they have started 0-2-0-0.
So
And
not as
the
good.
first game, their leading scorer from last year, Alina Muller, got hurt on a controversial hit.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
So it's been a tough start for them.
That's not good. Oh man. Yeah, 2 regulation. Well, I mean, again, each team has played 2 games, so I mean they only play 30, but
And you
it's
play
very
each other
early.
so many times that like I feel like it's almost each game matters more because the chances that you're playing a team that's like right above you or below you, so it's really like a 4-point game. Or I forget how the scoring works, but it's like the points are worth double almost if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because a regulation win is 3 points. It's the 3-2-1-0 system versus the NHL's 2-1 system.
Right.
So, yeah, you really want to make sure you can get those 3 points. And I mean, we kind of saw it a little bit last year, but like teams really trying to make a push if it's tied late in the third. Like, yeah, we need to get this goal now because we want to get 3 instead of 2 or possibly even 1.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big swing. So yeah, it's been fun. I have been enjoying watching them. They are once again available on YouTube, at least in the United States. Canada is a little different there, but yeah, it's just so nice to have the games on YouTube, very accessible. And I have YouTube Premium, so like I don't get the ads on the streams as well, which is nice. They do have like just normal ad break things, but it's just like a screen, or they'll just play like promotional material, which has been fun to watch too. They had a good little segment about like the behind the scenes of the player media day, which seemed like the ladies were having some fun with that. Probably having a lot more fun than the NHL players do on the media days. I mean, some of them have fun, but some of the old guys are like, ugh.
Again.
I don't really want to be here for like 3 hours taking pictures and making little viral videos for you.
All your little TikToks.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what is this coming to?
Yeah.
I just want to play hockey, man.
So you want to just quickly run through some of the World Junior rosters?
Let's do it. Start
All
with
right.
Canada, I guess.
Canada.
Makes
Do we
sense.
know anyone?
Uh,
Matthew Wood related to Miles Wood. Oh, Braden Yeager.
Braden Yeager.
Callum
Known
Ritchie.
in that trade. Yeah, Callum Ritchie. Oliver Bonk, I'm familiar with him. He's a young defenseman. Obviously, these are all young guys.
All under 20.
All under 20. Anybody else?
This guy's name is Denver.
Cataford, a Vegas draft selection.
Matthew Schaefer. He's going to be drafted. He's one of the top projected guys next year. We talked about him last week, I think. 2007 born.
Oh my gosh. And then, I know everybody always says that, but it does shock you a little bit when you hear that. Did you mention Gavin McKenna as well? From
Nope.
Whitehorse. It's Ethan Gauthier. I don't know if he's related to any of the other Gauthiers in the league right now. Oh, Easton Cowan as well. Leafs prospect. Cole Baudouin. So, not like a ton of like standout.
When you said Leafs prospect,
names.
I thought you said an elite prospect. I'm like, yes, indeed.
Because we're on eliteprospects.com. That's no, not quite. Goalies.
He's not elite?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know if any of these guys are elite.
That's for sure.
Yeah, sure.
All right, well, let me save you the time and tell you that the next team that actually has a roster is Slovakia.
Okay. Slovakia. Let's check them out. Immediately, I'm not recognizing. Let's see. There's got to be somebody on here that I've heard of.
Maxim Sturbach. Yeah, that's the Buffalo guy. He's the only guy that's. Oh, there's 3 guys drafted,
Uri
right? Has
Pekarik.
listeners know you talked about Sturbach? Maybe
Oh,
Maxime.
yes, I do remember briefly talking about him.
Yeah.
Probably in the preseason when again, not as much to discuss. Uh, yeah, Miroslav
Satan.
Satan. There we go. From East Amherst, New York.
Hmm.
So he's not born in Slovakia, but representing Slovakia. I think he's the only one they selected. That's
Many more
there.
drafted players on Team Sweden.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're a little bit more of a powerhouse.
Vigo Gustafsson. That's a good name.
That is a good name. Axel Sandin
Wilhelm
Pelika?
Hallqvist.
That's a great name. Wilhelm Hallqvist. Defenseman.
Axel Sandin Pelika.
Yep.
Swedes have some good names.
Draft pick by Detroit.
Jack Berglund for Philly. That sounds familiar. Maybe because of other Berglunds.
Yeah, I'm not immediately familiar with him.
Like Linus Eriksson. It's like, oh, I know Linuses and Erikssons.
Yeah, yeah, just there's got to be somebody like that in the league already. Victor Eklund, maybe related to William. David Edstrom, former Vegas prospect who was dealt in that deal for I don't remember.
Can't help you.
Oh, I know, because he was dealt in the Hurdle trade and then dealt to Nashville in the Askarov trade. There we go. I was like, I know there's some connection there. So he hasn't really played in the league yet though. But yeah, definitely some more recognizable names and faces. Well, not faces, but names anyways. What's the next team here? Probably USA, I would think. Because I don't think Switzerland has anybody yet. I have not really been familiar with a ton of these goalies. I think I had heard of one of the Canadian goalies. Hampton Slakinski for the Americans from Minnesota. I had not heard of him.
You got our boy Zeev there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. We got one recognizable name. All right. Zeev Boyum. Maybe. Still jury. Who was that?
That's one of the Hagens.
Oh yeah, James Hagens, the projected number 1.
He's also premium verified on Elite Prospects.
Oh, look at that.
As opposed to Joey Willis, who's only a verified player. He's not premium.
Not premium, no. He doesn't get the yellow check mark, I guess.
Ryan Leonard, I've heard of.
Yep, Ryan Leonard.
A lot of these guys probably played college, so it's like Christopher Pelosi. That's because he's a Bruin.
Cole Hudson, I've heard of him. Drew Fortescue, I've heard of him. I mean, Gabe Perreault as well. So
you're gonna hear about way more of them if you watch.
And Trevor Connolly, the Vegas pick, who I thought they were gonna pick Yzerman at that spot when he was available. I was kind of hoping for him, but so it'll be cool to see both of these guys. Obviously, that's a big draw for NHL fans to watch the World Juniors, especially if you're an American, because I think they're just a lot more popular in Canada. But yeah, it is fun to check out some of your prospects a little early. Obviously, different setting than in the NHL, but still you get kind of an idea of what their skill set could be, when they break through. But it doesn't always translate.
When you were talking about who you thought Vegas was going to draft, it reminded me On 32 Thoughts this week, they were talking about, I forget what brought it up, but Elliot Friedman was reminded of the 2018 draft where Philip Zadina fell to sixth to the Red Wings, and how like everyone was like, "Oh, that's just like a steal. Like, how did he even fall that far?" Because Ottawa drafted Brady Tkachuk at fourth overall, and they're like, "Why did like?" Because Tkachuk had what, like 8 goals that season before, or whatever. Did not have a good season, and like, what a terrible pick. And then
Whoopsies.
the Red Wings are like, "Oh, we got Zadina. Like, we lucked out," and just it shows that even with these draft prospects and like these players projected to be really good, they're 18-year-olds, and you never know because drafted seventh overall after Philip Zadina, Quinn Hughes.
Oh, Detroit. That, I mean, yeah, and that's like Iserman is always kind of going off the board a little bit with some of these picks. I mean,
They just picked the best
he was
available. Like all the
consensus, yeah.
fans of the Red Wings, like great pick. Like we got the best available. He fell. Like no one was complaining about that.
Actually, I don't know if he wasn't there yet. Anyways, he wouldn't have been there in 2018.
Mm.
But yeah, that's tough. And I think he's playing in Europe now too. I think he was one of the players we reported on signing in Europe in the off season for Sedina. So that's too bad. I did see, just kind of circling back a bit, there were a couple of Canadian prospects that were overlooked. I think Zane Perrick was one. I think that was a lot of talk around him, and then T.J. Ginla as well. But he's out for his season. He just got announced that he's done with an injury. So I guess that's probably why he didn't get selected. But yeah, it was like 4 of the top 10 Canadian picks in the draft last year were not chosen. So I don't really know what the story
How does
is.
the World Juniors work? Like if you have an NHL contract, can you not play? Or I guess D Boyum or however you say his name still.
Yeah, he has a
'Cause, like
contract.
why isn't like Macklin Celebrini playing in this?
I think like the NHL clubs, like if the players on like the active roster, you probably have a say over whether you allow them to play in this tournament.
Oh yeah, because I think last year was a thing with like Patra with the Bruins.
Yeah, he ended up playing over there. When some people were thinking that he was going to stick with the Bruins. So probably not going to be really any situations like that this go around based on what we've kind of been looking at. I don't think there have been any regular NHL guys that we've discussed. I don't think any of the other teams, like I don't think Finland or Czechia or whatever is going to have a regular mainstay NHLer on their roster. But I guess we'll see. So I don't actually remember when. I mean, these start around Christmas time, but I don't know exactly when the tournament begins.
I think it's like 24th. I don't know.
Christmas Eve, then. Oh, here. Canada.
26th through the 5th.
Through the 5th. Okay. I guess Boxing Day. Did they normally pick that as the starting day? That sounds like a Canadian thing. Actually, don't know where they're being held this year either. Do you know that?
I do not.
They were. I think they're back. They must be back in Canada. Like they went to Europe one year, they have to come back to Canada. They just love their World Juniors.
Well, 2025. So yeah, I guess there's 2 venues: the Canadian Tire Center and TD Place Arena.
Okay.
They're both in Ottawa, I guess. I think we fused with the TD Garden.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
yet.
originally the Ottawa Civic Center. Yeah,
Okay.
it's in Ottawa.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure they'll get a lot of interest there. So those will be fun to watch in a couple of weeks when nobody does anything in those like weird 5 days between Christmas and New Year's Eve. You're like, Nothing's really going on. Nobody's working. Nobody wants to do anything except eat and drink and blaze around. So watch some hockey too. Oh my gosh, the Lightning are up 8-1 on the Sharks now. Whew. Well, you're gonna have some stinkers. The Sharks are still not a good team, but they've been better lately. But still not great.
Remember when they lost by like 10 goals 2 games in a row or whatever? That was
Last
pretty fun.
season, that was awful. Yeah, that was really bad. Allowing 10 goals in back-to-back games. They are not that team this year, which
A
is
little better.
exciting. Yeah, I mean, having Celebrini is obviously huge. Like now that he's back from his injury there.
Will Smith still playing with them, or did he get sent back down?
I'm not sure. He's not playing for Boston University still, is he?
Also a Will Smith baseball catcher, I guess.
That's probably a pretty popular name.
Well, looks like he's still playing. He played 2 days ago.
Okay.
He had 1 shot against Washington.
5 goals, 6 assists, 11 points. Okay. So, yep, he's playing. He's played 23 games. Very good. I just haven't heard as much about him this year. Even though, because he was.
I knew he was playing when Celebrini got hurt.
Yeah.
He didn't start the season, but I guess pretty soon after, if he's played 23 games.
Yeah, they probably needed him. Let's see. Let's just kind of touch on a couple other early season, point leaders, goal leaders. Because there's been a couple surprises. I mean, we've already kind of discussed Marty Necas.
Yeah, it's the same with like standings. If you just look, well, I guess we're later into the season now, but early in the year, you're like, oh, why is like Pat Maroon a leading point scorer? It's just like after a couple of games, it's just coincidence or whatever. Had a hot streak early.
I mean, we're starting to get to the point where it's not the beginning of the season anymore.
Like Kaprizov leading the league makes sense. His team's in first, so.
Yeah, and McKinnon also with 39 points.
Marner, Rantanen,
Just
Kucherov, yeah.
Strom's been doing good even without Ovechkin. So not like, I mean, yeah, some similar
Konechny
faces.
Philly.
Yeah, Konechny's actually had a pretty good start. I think that's why he ends up making the roster there for.
And then Granlund for the Sharks.
Grant, yeah, he has actually been a surprise as well, especially given his age. I wouldn't expect him to be, going off, but I'm sure getting plenty of ice time.
For goals, you mentioned Cole Caulfield. He's in 6th.
6th, okay.
Connor McMichael's in 10th for the Caps as well. Stefan Noesen for the Devils. Yeah, when you sort by goals, there's more like lesser known players near the top.
Nason, I remember like seeing him like earlier in the season, and he had like 8 goals already, and I was like just blown away because he's not normally a pure goal scorer. That is 13 goals in 28 games. That's very good for him. Same as Tage Thompson. Same as Mark Scheifele, same as Barbashev, Brady Tkachuk, Kyle Connor, like Panarin, and Necas all with 13 goals. So yeah, that's quite a shock.
Yeah, who's leading the league in penalty minutes?
Zadorov.
Sure is.
He has been. I was gonna mention that
penalty
too.
Every game, man.
He has been just so hot-headed. I feel like and I don't know if this has been a trend with him, like on other teams.
That much. It's like dumb 2-minute penalties. I feel like he's gotten. I don't know how many of those are minor penalties, but it feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Like when you're 10 ahead of Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, you can't. I
Maybe
mean,
something.
you need your defensemen to stay out of the box. Like it's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like the Bruins have a ton of great like other defenders that can step in while he's out. I don't know. Yeah, that definitely needs to improve. Um, was it the Bruins versus Blackhawks game that the Blackhawks got called for too many men when they had the empty
Both the
net?
goalie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was the Blackhawks. It was
that
just the other
was
night.
that was embarrassing. That's probably part of the reason that Richardson got fired.
Maybe.
You
And
can't do
also when
that.
the Bruins played the Red Wings the other night, Zadorov had a comment talking about how it's a man's league and we all get slashed. We're all in pain, but you're not supposed to shake your hand and show the ref that you got slashed. It's like disrespectful. And I'm like, what's with like all these things recently about people getting pissed and making a big deal of like all these nothing things that happen all the time in the NHL? Because the other one, I don't know if you saw this, was Jack Hughes making a disrespectful deke
Oh,
against the
that
Rangers.
that guy was blowing smoke. I don't know that. Yeah,
He like, tried to do a Forsberg move on a breakaway, and like the Devils ended up winning by a decent margin. But during the like, it was like
it's
a
like 5-1.
game at this point or something. Yeah, I think it was like one of the Rangers intermission guys or whatever. It's like, what have you been complaining about?
Like and then yeah, one of the Devils like or one of the beat writers or whatever asked Hughes after the game about the comments, and he's like, I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, what do you mean? Did I try to embarrass him? Like, I'm playing the sport. It's
Yeah.
like I'm actually trying to score as many goals as I can because we're trying to win this game. It yeah, it is weird. Like there's definitely weird things with running up the score or whatever. It's like
Like I
you
remember a few
don't
years
stop
ago,
playing.
some coach got mad because the other coach put the first power play unit out when they were up like however many goals.
Yeah.
Like one of those rules, like you're supposed to put out, like you're not supposed to keep trying to score or whatever.
Supposed to put your scrubs out. It's like I put
Yeah.
them out because this is my first power play unit and we're on the
Yeah.
power play.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me how to like construct my team. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't buy into some of those things, some of those unwritten rules. It's just like it's one of those like back in my day sort of deals.
Hmm.
Uh, the hockey guy had an interesting video on that, and those were a couple of the things that he was talking about, and I definitely agree. Those are kind of ridiculous,
Yeah.
but whatever. You can complain, I guess, but I don't I'm not with it.
Hmm.
We'll quickly just we'll talk about the rookies too as far as how they're doing with some numbers. So Michkov is leading the way with points and with goals. He's been, as advertised. Hudson has been good. Obviously Celebrini as well. And Will Smith is doing well. Goals. He's tied for fifth. So we'll keep an eye on those for our Calder race. And yeah. Let's see. Oh, did we not? I don't think we mentioned this yet. But yeah, Line did officially return to the Canadiens lineup. Well, not return. He made his debut with the Canadiens because he got injured in preseason. And he did score in his debut, and yeah, the whole place was going crazy. All the teammates. There were some good photos of
That was
like
awesome.
Caulfield in the background celebrating, and just a good feeling. Even though you know Dean's not a Canadians fan, I'm sure he was still happy for
I'm a
Line.
Line fan.
Yeah, and they weren't playing the Bruins that night either, so
Yeah.
they were playing the Islanders. And the Islanders lost that game in overtime. Big surprise.
Nice.
They, yeah. It's just crazy how they continue to do that. But I thought that was a fun little thing. Um,
Hmm.
little
Speaking
story.
of fun little things, we were talking about this before we started recording, but um, TNT had some fun with Brad Marchand. Um, I think the start on the not the Centennial game. I forget what game it started on, but um, Biz like complimented Marshawn on his hair, and Marshawn chirped him, and then the next game they had a whole segment on um how Marshawn would be suspended from like the Mr. TNT or whatever.
For one
Um,
whole year.
yeah, but I would recommend looking it up if you haven't seen it. It's like it's pretty entertaining. I like the chemistry those two have, and I feel like we've talked about it before. It seems like TNT is like the best intermission crew and definitely entertaining. We need more of these moments to kind of get people into the sport, but just very entertaining to watch. And then that game after they had that whole segment, Biz was obviously like pouting and talking about like how Marshawn's like he does like a betting corner too. Like Marshawn's not gonna get an assist or like whatever else, and then Marshawn goes out and gets 2 goals, and then they chat again after the game. But it was all in good fun.
That was pretty good. Yeah, the TNT guys have way more fun than any of the other broadcast. Like some of the Canadian fans, like viewers, were like, "Man, this is what you guys get to watch." Meanwhile, we have to watch like just the most dry, like
Old
boring
Boys
Canadian.
Club.
Yeah, like the Canadian broadcast, some of the TSN guys and Sportsnet and all that are just not nearly as interesting. It's like we're kind of dissecting the Leafs here again, and like yeah, just random stuff that's not as fun. There's a couple fun guys. Like I like Gene Principe. He's really fun. So there's a couple cool guys, but yeah, I had a good time watching that. I'd just seen it, or I hadn't seen it until uh, Dean sent the full video. I had kind of heard about it, but it was a good watch. So definitely check out that little segment that they did.
Yeah, I think Span Chicklets posted it on all the socials too, so you can probably find it there. Or I think you said TNT as well, maybe, but
Yeah, the NHL on TNT Twitter account put that out. So that was fun.
um, in other news, Demko says that he's now at a point where he thinks he can be an option for the Canucks, and he says that he still needs to talk to the coaching staff, so no decisions have been made. But that is good news because this injury has definitely gone on longer than he and I'm sure most people expected it to.
Yeah, it's definitely dragged out a little bit. Like it just kept feeling like we were really close, and then kind of another setback. Oh, we're close, and then nothing ever came to fruition. So we've had Shilovs and Lankinen holding down the fort, and yeah, we mentioned earlier the Lankinen uh, crazy road start, the 10-0 record, which is great, and I don't think either of the goalies have been like blowing people away, but they've been doing enough to like keep the Canucks in playoff hunt, playoff positioning. So if they can get Demko back and he's good to go, like that'll be huge for them. I was kind of expecting to start the season that they were not gonna be able to kind of get through this patch without Demko. I mean, again, not knowing how long it was gonna be, but that's why I didn't have them in my preseason bracket. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong on that.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, their away record is crazy. So they're 3-5-3 at home, and then 10-2-1 on the road.
Like that's,
They're
I
the,
mean, that's topsy
they're
turvy.
third in the Pacific.
That's yeah. Their away record is like a huge, obviously the biggest reason why they're in third. Um, so not good for me, but good for Vancouver. And we also had a couple of trades recently. Um, the well, they're both kind of interesting, but the big one was the David Jiricek trade. So former number 3 overall selection for Columbus, he goes to Minnesota for or as well as a 2025 fifth round pick, and going the other way, Damon Hunt, 2025 first, a 2026 third, 2027 second and a 2026 fourth. So lots of draft capital for Columbus. Um, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like maybe Columbus gave up a little bit early on him. I think there was also kind of like a schism going on there as far as how much ice time he was expecting. I think that was something we were talking about a bit last year.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right about them maybe giving up a little early. But also on the other side of it, it's like if this team who sees him every day is like, we don't want him anymore. It's like, what are you really confident in getting this player? Like, there's also all these teams always think, oh, we can make like he's not productive here, but we can make him productive in our system, and like it normally doesn't work out like that. So I mean, it's still a gamble for the Wild, but I mean, there's obviously still a chance it works out. So they got fifth, and then like you said, you're giving up a first rounder. And I don't know much about Damon Hunt.
I don't know much about him
And a
either.
third and a fourth
Yeah, like so the draft
and a
capital's
second.
decent. It's good to get a first and a second, I think. I mean, they're not all in the same year, but
And
like
yeah, if you're the Blue Jackets, you're not planning to compete anytime soon. So you're like, well, let's take the draft picks, and then you can also trade those for players if you want later.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen other teams like Vegas do that. They trade players to get some picks and then they flip the picks to get even better upgrades in players. So, I could totally see Columbus doing something like that if they feel like they're closer to getting out of whatever kind of retool, rebuild stage they've been in lately. Um, but it was an interesting one, and I don't know if I mean it came out of the blue a little bit. Like we had kind of heard the rumors about how Jiricek was not happy with his ice time and he was playing in Cleveland for the Monsters and it just kind of wasn't working out. So I don't know if I don't think he's played with the Wild yet, um, but it'll be fun to see if he makes his debut for them this year and how many games he plays and all that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other trade, so we had a goalie swap. Both these goalies have not been doing well. So it's going to Colorado, Scott Wedgwood and Ryder Rolston, I believe. And then Justus Annunen and a 2025 sixth round pick going back to Nashville. So, yeah, both of these guys have been struggling. Annunen notably is also Finnish, so the Finnish connection with Saros could unlock some magic in him. I I I kind of went back and forth on who I felt was winning the trade. Initially, I was a little surprised um, with Nashville picking Annunen up because he really hasn't been that great. And
He's only
Wedgwood.
24, and like he only was playing for the Avs because well they didn't have anyone better, I guess.
Yeah, he was coming in relief with all the other injuries. So
Mhm.
yeah, once I had kind of seen like the age disparity, because Wedgwood's definitely older. He's kind of on the tail end of things here. I could see where this would end up working out pretty well for Nashville, and it makes sense for Colorado, like trying to want to get somebody who's more experienced. He had a pretty good year with Dallas the previous season, um, in a limited role, so I can understand the rationale because yeah, they need to salvage their season now while they have this core. It's like if Annunen isn't really becoming the guy while he's getting thrown to the wolves, more or less, at least in Colorado, maybe it makes more sense to move on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this will really um, alleviate either of the team's goalie woes. And we just saw the other night in that Colorado versus Buffalo game where Georgiev let in like 4 goals and 8 shots, and he had like a horrible, horrible first period and got pulled. And of course, the Avs ended up coming back and winning against the Sabres, typical Sabres fashion, but that still, not boding well for Georgiev's season. Like, I don't know what they're going to do if he can't find a way to bounce back. I don't have his numbers. Yeah, he is. I don't know if he was ever going to be like a number one guy though. Even when he like initially got traded from or signed with them from New York, I was like, I don't know.
For your second.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
And the two people who got assists both got their 17th assist of the season.
I love stuff like that. I have the numbers here for Georgiev. 17 games played, 7 wins, 354 goals against average, 3.54 goals against, and 867 save percentage. So yeah, that's not good. Yeah, it was a 500 save percentage. He got pulled after the 4th goal. 826. He had one game against Dallas. He had an 824 against Tampa. Like, not been a solid year for him. So we'll see how the Avs bounce back, or if they don't, going forward. Anything else? There's actually been a lot going on. We got the PWHL jumping back in, and we've got NHL action ramping up. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on in the hockey world.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, I don't think.
Alrighty. We normally do the hat trick update at the end, so I guess we can quickly touch on how that's going. I am tied with Gifford still. We each have 12 hat tricks for first place, or tied for first. Zach with 10, and then Dean with 8, and Owen with 6. So Owen has not been able to come out of his slump.
Well, I was looking the other day, so we had one of the days, me, you, and Gifford got hat trick, and then, I thought you didn't that day. I thought when I looked, it was like one day 3 of us got hat tricks, and then the other day the other 2 got hat tricks. But like it seems like we're kind of, or I guess it's working out. Maybe I was looking at before we updated. What is row 60?
Yeah, I just updated this today.
Okay, that's why. Because I was looking, I was like, 3 days, in the span of 3 days, we all got 1 hat trick. So it's like we're kind of keeping our flow.
Yeah, not a lot of change, just everybody steadily going up about the same amount. And then for Pass the Cup, so Dean, you are leading the way there with 9 points, and Washington has really taken you pretty far.
Second to last pick. I had faith in them the whole time.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't
Calgary,
be surprised.
I
wouldn't be surprised if Calgary did well for you too.
Or Minnesota, or New Jersey, or Carolina, or Toronto. My team is stacked, I tell you.
It is pretty good. So San Jose actually has the cup right now, and they are on the waivers, so nobody gets that point. Kind of lost to time. Nobody ended up picking them up, which I kind of wish that I had. But and especially because they're playing Tampa now, so it would have been a win-win either way for me, because I had both of them. Yeah, I dropped San Jose for Tampa.
Yeah, you could have just dropped Chicago, but I was like, who do I drop? But then I realized I could have just, like I said in the group chat, I could have picked up San Jose and then immediately claimed Calgary or whoever back on their waivers.
Yeah, you could have.
Next time.
So looking like the Lightning are going to win this one. They've got an 8-1 lead right now.
Yep.
So that's looking good for me. And then I'll be in third with 7. Owen's got 8. Zach with 3. And Gifford only with 1 point. With Nashville is the one that got him the point. So that's a little surprising. Yeah, his whole team has kind of been underperforming besides Vegas. I mean, Dallas is still pretty good, but they haven't been like juggernauts this year. So that's our update on how those games are going, and I guess we'll catch you guys next time. Subscribe if you haven't done so, and share with your friends, yada yada, you know, all that good stuff.
Yeah, all that. Go watch the last video. That's 5 minutes. It's a nice short one of the Utah jersey unbagging. I guess
Unbagging, yeah, not at boxing. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to take them out of the box, and I don't want my shipping label or whatever to be on the screen.
Crossed
So
out or something. But yeah, go check it out.
yep, I edited that one myself, so
Yep.
hopefully it wasn't too bad.
Nope. Didn't even notice any edits. That means it's good.
That's what you want.
Hope for.
Unless they were like intentional edits, then that would be too bad.
Sure.
Enough rambling. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Someone's like, this is a Nicktoons.
Yeah, I came here for Nicktoons. You guys are talking about nonsense.